Hello friends, in today's session we will discuss about sampling methods. Social science researches are generally carried out on human population who are numerous in number. So, for the purpose of a given study, it is not always possible that you study each and every member of the target population. If you take the example, maybe one researcher want to study the satisfaction of the university's teacher with the present syllabus. So, now for the purpose of this particular study, so there are lack of university teacher are there in India. So, it is not possible to survey or to interview each and every one of them. So, instead of taking or interviewing each and every one of them, what we can do? We can select one or two universities from the each state, and from that university we may select certain number of teachers to represent the whole university teacher population. So, this process we call the sampling. So, sampling means selecting few from the population. So, sampling is a technique of selecting individual members or subset of the population to make statistical inferences from them and to estimate the characteristics of whole population. Now, we consider another scenario. A researcher may want to know the number of SC/ST teachers in university. So, in this case he have to study each and every university to find out how many numbers of them are there. So, this method we call them census method. So, what sample is? So, sample is the number of persons, unit or object that is selected to represent a population, and that also through a following some rules. So, that means sample is the, in nutshell, it is the smaller representation of the larger whole. So, what population is then? So, population means it is any identifiable and well specified group of individual. So, in this relation two other terms are there, we call them statistic and parameter. What is statistic? It is then the characteristics of the sample, like in statistics x bar or sample mean. So, that is an statistic. What is an parameter? Like you heard the name of mu, that is population mean. So, that is an parameter. Statistics means it is an characteristics of the sample, parameter means it is an characteristics of the population. Now, what is the advantage of sampling or over the census method? The first chief advantage is that it can save the time and resources of the researcher or a particular research. Secondly, it can generate a precise estimate of any particular population characteristics within a range of error, and this particular error can also be estimated. Means sometimes sampling is more precise than the census method because of this particular error in sampling process can be estimated. So, what about census then? What about usefulness of it? Census method has its own implication, like it is suitable for the when you need the factual information. So, now again coming back to the sampling, two other terms are which are related with the sampling process, that is sampling frame and sampling unit. So, what sampling frame is? So, it is the list of elements in the population from which the sample is drawn. Like if you again go back to the previous example of university teachers, the satisfaction of the university teachers towards the present syllabus. So, maybe the university which is selected for the purpose of the data collection or interviewing the teachers. So, those basically constitute the sampling frame, and sampling unit means it is the individual unit of the sampling frame or the population which are actually studied. So, here the selected university teachers, they constitute the sampling unit. Now, this sampling is broadly classified into, or it may be two broad basic types. One is known as probability sampling, another is known as non-probability sampling. So, what probability sampling is? In case of probability sampling, each member or each element or each unit of the population has equal and independent chance to get included into the sample. So, this we call the random sampling or random process. This each equal chance of get selected into the sample. And what by the chance we mean? Chance means, okay, we do not know any reason that a particular unit will be favored than the other particular unit or more favored than the other particular unit. So, there is no reason of believing that. So, that is the chance. So, probability sampling means it is the random selection of the each and equal member will be have the equal chance to be get selected. Now, another type of sampling is we call the non-probability sampling. So, just opposite to the probability sampling, non-probability sampling means the each and every element of the population, they do not have the equal chance to be get selected into the sample. So, that means non-probability sampling does not involve the random selection at all. Now, there are a number of methods under this probabilistic sampling method and non-probabilistic sampling method. So, the common method which are used for the or which are the probability sampling type, those are simple random sampling, stratified sampling, cluster sampling, and here I put the systematic sampling also, but it may be the part of the probability sampling and it may be the part of the non-probability sampling. So, how it is we will discuss when I come to this systematic sampling. So, non-probability sampling methods are like convenience sampling is there, quota sampling is there, snowball sampling is there, double sampling is there, judgmental or purposive sampling is there. So, those are the different non-probability sampling methods. Now, coming to the first probability sampling method, that is the simple random sampling. So, what it is? So, simple random sampling means again that each and every element of the population, they have the equal chance to be get selected into the sample. So, for the purpose of the doing this simple random sampling, that means that size of the parent population must be known to the researcher. Often this term simple random sampling or use of this term random in the simple random sampling, it gives an impression like that it is accidental in nature. But the simple random sampling is not accidental in nature. It is in fact, it is very carefully planned. So, in the simple random sampling, unit in the universe must be arranged in such a manner that this selection process give equi probability to the every unit or every element of the universe to be get selected. So, what are the advantage of this simple random sampling? That first, it is bias free. Okay. So, as it is random in nature, so there is an high probability to be representative. Okay. And secondly, the simple random sampling can control all the extraneous variable. But so what are the disadvantage? So, disadvantage is that if a particular element or particular characteristics, okay, or element which having different characteristics, their representation in the whole population is very small. Okay, so again their probability to get selected into the sample, that may be very minimal. So, there is a chance of the exclusion of this that very special characteristics which have very minimal representation in the whole population. Now, second type of random sampling. So, how to do this simple random sampling? Okay, we will discuss about that in the latter part of this particular lecture. So, another type of probability sampling methods is the stratified random sampling. So, what stratified random sampling is? In case of stratified random sampling, we divide the whole larger population into smaller homogeneous subset. So, that means the whole whole population or the target population is divided into 2 or more homogeneous strata. So, why this want to divide the population into homogeneous subset or homogeneous strata? The firstly, okay, it allows us to use of the smaller group. Why? Because if your population is homogeneous in nature, so more the homogeneity, more the, so there is an less and less requirement for the number of the sample, means more homogeneity, less number of sample can be satisfying, or less number of sample can be representative one. So, that is the main reason. So, this stratified random sampling, again it is of two type: proportionate stratified sampling, another we call the disproportionate stratified random sampling. So, what is stratified, what is proportionate stratified sampling? Proportionate stratified sampling means the final selection of the sample from the subdivided or the divided population will be based on the size of this smaller strata, means the number of elements you select from a particular strata or class, that will be according to their size in comparison with the whole population size of that particular strata. Okay. It will be more clear if you use an example. Okay. Like you want to know, so in a just you assume that in a particular agricultural college there may be 100 students. Okay. So, among these 100 students, maybe among these total 100 students are there. So, among these 100 students, maybe there are BSc, MSc and PhD student. Now, there may be 60 BSc student, there are 30 MSc student and there are 10 PhD student. So, the first thing, so based on the degree of a particular or the academic level of the student, okay, you can divide the population into 3 subpopulation. There are the BSc student, MSc student and PhD student. So, now if you are doing proportionate stratified sampling, so this is the first step of the stratification. So, now if you are doing the proportionate stratified sampling and you suppose to select samples of the 50 student from this group of the 100 student. Okay. So, what will be your sample size? So, they will be according to their representation in the whole population. So, if you are selecting 50 student, so how many samples should be selected from the BSc people? It should be 0.6, that means 30. Okay. From MSc, its representation is 0.3 in the 100 population size. So, how many will be selected? 15. Okay. From the PhD, it will be 50 into 0.1, that means 5. So, total 50 sample. So, this process of the sampling we call then the proportionate stratified random sampling. So, now this random stratified sampling may be disproportionate in nature. So, what happen in case of disproportionate random sampling? You make a number of strata based on the certain variable and then the final sample is not according to the proportionate size of this particular strata. Instead, it is the equal number. Maybe in the same example, you want to select the 50 people or you want to select the 10% of the student as in your final sample. So, after this stratification, you will select the 6 student from the BSc, 3 student from the MSc and 1 student from your PhD. Okay. So, what is the problem with but this selection will also be random, both in case of the final selection in case of the stratified as well as in case of proportionate as well as disproportionate stratified sampling is random purely. So, what is the problem with this second method? So, second method generally over represent or under represent certain strata. So, that means there is a chance of the much higher error in case of in terms of the representation in case of the disproportionate stratified random sampling. In case of the stratified sampling, the student should keep into the mind certain important points about when to use the stratified sampling. The first point is about that how many strata or how to form the strata. So, the strata in the stratified sampling are generally formed based on the variable which have the significant correlation with your dependent variable. Like if you take the example of the fertility. So, maybe, so which one is the important variable or on which this stratification may be done? Okay. So, it will be much more clear, okay, if you take an example. Before that, so what should be the size of the stratified random sample or this strata? So, it is a common rule that the stratified random sampling should not result in such a number of sample, okay, which is more than the if you use the simple random sampling. Okay. So, both of this point, that is the variables for the stratification, okay, and the number of strata or number of sample you required in the stratified random sampling, okay, that will be more clear if you take an example. Okay. So, like just you assume a researcher is studying the fertility of a particular small town. Okay. So, he want to stratify the population, because in town there will be different type of the population. Okay. So, from there his own knowledge or from the previous researches, he may find out that the fertility may be affected by your race of the people, it may be affected by the religion of the people, it affected by the educational status of the people, it affected by the socio-economic status of the people, and it affected by the age of the individual. Okay. So, these are the important independent variable which are the related with your study variable and may actually affect the fertility. Okay. So, now the stratification must be made on this particular the sample should be or the population should be stratified on based on this particular aspect. Okay. But here come the second rule, means that the resulting sample in the stratification should not be more than the which otherwise be in the simple random sampling, it should be less than that, otherwise there is no point of that, you can simply use the simple random sampling. Now, assume that in case of the fertility, in case of this independent variable, the race may have the 3 type, means there are people from the Bengali people, there may be Gujarati people, there may be Kannada people. Okay. So, 3 people are there in a particular town. So, though again they may be divided into 3 broader population, 3 broader religion. So, religion may be 3 type, maybe they are some of them Hindu, some of them Buddhist, some of them are the Christian. Okay. So, in the education also, okay, they may be divided into 4 group. Okay. So, maybe some are school educated, some are undergraduate, some are postgraduate, some have the more education than that. And socioeconomic status also, there may be the 3 level. 3 level means they are either from the lower socioeconomic status, from middle socioeconomic status, or the for higher socioeconomic status. And age group also, you assume that there are 3 level, means who are very young, middle aged, and towards the at the end of the middle age or towards the older age people. Okay. So, now for the it is a rule for the sampling that none of the strata should have the lesser than the 10 number of sample. So, in this case, how many sample is required for a stratified random sampling? So, how many sample is required from each of the strata? Okay. If you take the at least 10 is the cutoff number. Okay. So, what should be the sample size? It is 3 into 3 into 3 into 4 into 3 into 3 into 10. So, these many strata are there. So, it will be result in around 324 into 10. So, that will be around 3240. So, now studying this particular fertility from a small town, so you required the at least 3240 sample if you use all these particular 5 parameter for stratification of this particular population of the whole town. So, just look that whether is it feasible to study this much number of population. Okay. So, that thing you have to keep into the mind. So, now going to the non-probability sampling methods. Okay. So, as I already told, the systematic sampling can be included in both probability and non-probability sampling methods. Okay. So, in the non-probability sampling methods, there are convenience sampling. The convenience sampling, or it sometimes use the terms of the quota sampling. So, convenience sampling means, okay, the population is subdivided into certain groups, okay, according to the need of the research, and the final selection of the people from this particular group or the sample from this particular strata are not random in nature. They are selected based on the convenience of the researcher. Like if you again take the study of the fertility of a particular town. Okay. So, now the people may be divided according to their maybe according to their age, religion or all these places. Okay. Now, different smaller substrata or homogeneous substrata are made. Now, based on this substrata, researcher select only those particular household which are nearer to the road. Okay. So, this is a type of convenience sampling. So, non-probability, another method of the non-probability sampling is the purposive sampling. So, in case of the purposive sampling, okay, the researcher, the ultimate sample is selected, those people are selected or those individuals are selected as a sample which the researcher think they are the best suitable for their study. Like maybe a study is being carried out, the attitude of the peoples towards this Indo-American Atomic Energy Pact. Okay. Now, in this case, the researcher may feel like the people who are the university educated or maybe the people who are the related with this atomic energy, means those are the students from the physics and all those people. Okay. So, who have certain understanding of this particular atomic energy, they are the most suitable population or they are the most suitable sample for the purpose of the study. So, in this case, it is the one of the example of the purposive sampling, or maybe it is the study on the gender neutrality or a study on the how to mainstream the gender. Okay, researcher may feel that particular feminist people or the people who are associated with the gender movement, they are in the better position to answer this particular question or to be the part of this particular study. Okay. So, this way sampling or this type of sampling process we call the purposive sampling. Another sampling process is there, non-probability sampling process, which is known as accidental sampling. So, what accidental sampling means? Accidental sampling simply means that the researcher may be, if you take an example, a researcher maybe want to know about the attitude of the people or the satisfaction of the visitor or the tourist with the street food of the Varanasi. Okay. And in this particular purpose, a researcher may stand in front of this Baba Vishwanath temple of the BHU campus. Okay. And whoever is visiting that particular day, on the day the researcher is collecting data, he may took them as a sample of his study. Okay. So, at that particular point, those particular people were there in that position, okay, in that place. So, because of that, they are selected as a part of the study. So, this type of sampling we call them the accidental sampling. So, another type of non-probability sampling method is snowball sampling method. It is also known as sociometric sampling method. So, in this case, a particular respondent, he informally indicate who will be the next respondent. Like if you take the example of maybe a study is being conducted on the farmer entrepreneur. So, somehow the researcher find out a successful farmer who is having an entrepreneurial venture, and this particular farmer will be asked to indicate that who are the other farmer he know who are successful as a entrepreneur. Okay. So, this type of sampling is very suitable for studying those characteristics. Okay. So, those are not very prevalent in the society, like farmer entrepreneur if you take. Okay. Not most of the farmers are not entrepreneurial. Okay. So, it is required. So, in these cases the snowball sampling method will be very useful. So, I already discussed about quota sampling, okay, or convenience sampling, and there is another type of sampling or non-probability sampling which we call the double sampling. So, double sampling simply means that first from a larger group of sample or larger number of sample, okay, a final smaller number of sample is selected. Okay. This type of sampling is mostly used for the mail-in studies. Okay. So, where a number of people may be a person is studying the attitude of the Indian peoples towards our folk knowledges or our indigenous knowledges, preservation of indigenous knowledges, and the study may be conducted through the mailed-in questionnaire, or researcher may receive around maybe 10,000 responses. Okay. From the 10,000 responses, maybe researcher decided to draw a sample of the 300. Okay. So, this is an process of the double sampling. Now, the most used sampling method in the social science research is the either it is a simple random sampling or it is stratified random sampling. Okay. So, how to do this simple random sampling? So, there are a number of methods to carry out the simple random sampling. One of the mostly used method is the lottery method. Okay. So, it is the most oldest and economical method. So, what is how this method is carried out? So, each member of the element of the population is assigned with a unique number. Then these numbers are written on the cards which are totally similar in shape, size, color, whatever physical appearance it have. Okay. And they are generally simply placed in a basket and thoroughly mixed. Okay. And then this slip may be taken out randomly without looking into them. Okay. So, this is the most easiest and way of doing the simple random sampling. You have to prepare a list of, or you have to prepare a slip of all the elements or sampling unit you have, then you have to select it randomly. Now, this selection may be without replacement or with replacement. With replacement means that the member, a particular member who is selected from that particular sampling frame, okay, after the selection you put it back into the sample, like you select maybe a person named A from the basket of your slip, and it is again put back into the basket after the selection, okay, after registering that particular person name. Okay. So, in this way each and every member will have the equal chance. Okay. Now, in case of the sampling without replacement, that means the number or member once selected, he will be taken out from the population or the sampling frame. Okay. He will be taken out from the sampling frame. Okay. So, now like if there is 10 members in the sampling frame, okay, so that means within the sampling frame, okay, so that means for the first member there is a chance for selection is the 1/10. Okay. For the second member, okay, if it is a sampling without replacement, it will be 1/9. Okay. So, they will not have the equal chance, for the chance will not be equal. Okay. So, now the another method for using the simple random sampling is using the random number table. So, random number table generally provide you with a list of numbers which are okay, which basically ensure the randomness. Okay. So, there are a number of random number table available. Okay. So, most commonly used tables are the Tippett random number table, the Fisher or Yates random number table, Kendall and Smith random number table, and random number table by the Rand Corporation. These are mostly used for the social science research. Okay. So, there are okay. So, there are other random number table also available. Okay. So, in the process of the using this random number table, sometimes we forget the one of the renowned scientist from the India who also invented a random number table at the same time of the Tippett. Okay. That is the Mahalanobis, Prashant Chandra Mahalanobis. Okay. So, his table are not that much, it is only for the knowledge of the students. Okay. So, this is an example of the Tippett's random number table. Okay. So, this is an example of the Fisher and Yates random number table. Okay. And as I am talking about the Mahalanobis, okay, so it was the paper he written on this particular random number table at the same time of the Tippett. Okay, on his random number table he generated, and it is the table I taken from it, may be not that much visible. Okay, and it is mostly used for the industrial purpose, not in the social scientific research. So, now how to use this random number table? Okay. So, now for using the random number table, the whatever member you have in the population, you have to give the identification number to them, and then you have to determine what will be your probably sample size. Okay. And then simply by using the random number table you can select. Okay. So, now in the random number table you can use, or you can go in any direction, you can go up to down, you can go left to right, you can go this diagonally also. Okay. And in the random number table you start from the any particular numbers, okay, it may be chosen randomly, and then use the numbers in the table continuously. Okay, that is the simple procedure, and you have to continue until you complete your selecting your required sample size. So, now just to assume that maybe a particular for a particular study, okay, the people or the members are given identification number like 301, 302, 303, 304 like that. Okay. So, using this Tippett's random number table, how we are going to select, like maybe if you are using the last two numbers of the Tippett table, okay, like 52. So, first we will use the 52 number respondent. Okay. So, you have just if you have 1 to 100, if you give the 1 to 100 this identification number to your population. So, first will be the 52 will be your sample, then it will be the 67, or maybe it is the 52, then 41, then 92. Okay. So, this is the simple way of the selecting through using the random number table. So, there are a number of other random number table also available. I have put it all of it here, okay, for the in the chronological order for the purpose of the knowledge of the or awareness of the researcher. And another important thing you have to remember, these random number tables are not actually totally or not error free. Okay. So, there are a number of research paper which indicate the relative randomness of these particular tables or of these particular usable tables. Okay. So, they are in the Kendall and Smith table. Okay. It was found that having the highest degree of randomness, okay, followed by the Fisher table, Rand Corporation table and Tippett table. Okay. But they have the equal utility. Now, this random number can be generated by using the Excel also, okay, or using a particular statistical software also. So, the function rand, okay, that can use for the using the generating the random number in the Excel, okay, or this rand function generally generate the random number which are basically having decimal, okay, those are not whole number. Okay. So, you have to multiply it with the 100 to generate this whole random number in a which are whole number, or you can use if you use to generate the random numbers from the total population, okay, like if it is if you want to generate the 100 population, then you can use the int 100 into rand, okay, that is as a function to generate the number. But one thing you have to remember when you are using the Excel for generating random number, that each time every time you do anything, click on this random number table, okay, it changes. So, once you generate the random number table, you have to copy it in the other cell, so that it can be hold constant. Okay, I will show you, like I was giving the example of the using rand function. Okay, like if you put rand, it automatically Excel. So, it generally this is the random number. So, these are the random number. Okay. But whatever, so for the using this random number, the one thing the students should remember, that you copy and paste these particular numbers, okay, in terms of value in the other cell, or otherwise it will change. Okay. For generating the random number in the whole form, so you have to use this particular function. Okay. So, then you can extend it to generate a number of random numbers. Okay. At the end of this lecture of the sampling, use of the sampling methods, okay, one important thing the student must remember, that is the requirement for the good sampling. So, the good sample only require two basic elements. The first is that the sample must be representative. Okay. So, now this representativeness is generally a matter of, it is a mechanical, it is the mechanical part. Mid sampling methods you are using, that basically lead towards the representativeness. Okay. And second and most important is that it must be adequate. Adequate means what should be the size of the sample, so that the characteristics you are studying, okay, that remains stable. What should be the adequate number of your sample? It also leads towards it contribute towards the increasing the representativeness. So, that means the samples determination or the sample size you selected for the study, that must be adequate, or that must be according to the requirement, okay, to ensure this adequacy. So, how to ensure the adequacy in terms of sample size determination, we will discuss about it in certain other lecture. So, for further reading, the student can go through this textbook I mentioned here, or the links or articles which are mentioned here. Thank you for listening.